The desert holds many secrets, stories buried in stone, scattered by wind, and left to time. Here in the Gila Mountains near Yuma, Arizona, lies one such story. The wreck of a World War II B-17 flying fortress that crashed more than 80 years ago. On June 28, 1944, a B-17G lifted off from Yuma Army Airfield for a night training mission. The crew never returned. In the early hours of the morning, the aircraft struck the upper slopes of Fortuna Peak. All 5 airmen aboard were lost. Getting to the parking area is a feat in and of itself. The approach road is rough, steep, and covered in loose rock, turning the drive into a genuine 4x4 challenge. It's the kind of route that keeps you alert and on the wheel, but it also adds to a sense of adventure. By the time you reach the base of the mountain, you already feel like you've earned the hike that lies ahead. I've hiked to this crash site twice in the past 2 years. First with my friend Robert Marcos, and more recently with my brother Jim. The mountain feels steeper now than it did back then, though maybe that's just time reminding me of its effects on old bones. On our way up, Robert and I jumped a desert fox. It was a real surprise to see him running away from us. As you can see from the animated crash sequence in Google Earth, the aircraft came heartbreakingly close to clearing the top of Fortuna Peak. Instead, it struck the mountainside with such force that the wreckage was pulverized into thousands of twisted fragments. The impact scattered debris down the steep slope for nearly 500 yards, leaving a long trail of metal shards and broken components along the rugged terrain. It's been more than 80 years since the accident, and in that time the mountain has changed dramatically. Wind, heat, and monsoon rains have carved into the slope, triggering countless small landslides and shifting boulders and loose shale. Over the decades, the debris field has slowly crept downward, and sections of the slope have collapsed and reshaped themselves. Much of the wreckage that once lay exposed is now partially buried or swallowed by shifting rocks.
Well, I'm at the highest place that I think I'm going to go. And up above me is nothing but a sheer cliff. And you know, parts of that plane came raining down from that cliff above me. And I'm on a really steep slope right here. And then you can see as I look in the rubble, are just thousands and thousands of pieces of the plane broken into small little parts. This is absolutely a classic example of how much damage is done to these planes when they hit the ground at their full speed.
The mountain has quite literally moved around the remains of the great bomber, reclaiming it piece by piece and making the site feel like a time capsule that nature is steadily closing.
Okay, I'm so excited. I get to go on a hike with my brother Jim.
Jim and I had 2 goals on this adventure. The first was to explore the wreckage and hopefully find at least one piece that clearly identified the aircraft as a B-17.
B-17AC.
The second goal was more personal. We wanted to reach the top of Fortuna Peak. I hadn't made it all the way when I hiked here with Robert, and this time I hope to stand at the spot where a previous hiker placed a flagpole in honor of the lost airmen. When Robert and I first visited the crash site, We held a small ceremony at the impact point to honor the crew.
From our perspective, this is the location where the plane impacted. And the 5 crew members probably didn't know what hit them. They were all most likely killed instantly, particularly if you look at the way the debris is scattered right here. Tiny little pieces.
I think it was after midnight.
And it was dark.
They had just completed a nighttime navigational training, and they had an instructor on board.
Yeah, the radio men had called in and said, we wanted permission to land, and so they knew they were coming in, and then it was 20 miles away from the airport that people saw this huge explosion. And we know it caught fire because we found melted aluminum here. This newspaper article says 5 flyers die in crash near Yuma. It was printed on June 29, 1944. 5 Army airmen were killed instantly yesterday when a B-17 bomber crashed and exploded against the side of a lofty peak in the Gila Mountains, 18 miles east of the plane's base at Yuma Army Airfield. Colonel Herbert W. Anderson, field commander, said all aboard the plane perished and identified the dead men as. And each one of these flags represents one of the young men. Second Lieutenant William A. Reichel. He was 22 years old. He was the pilot from Tonawanda, New York. Second Lieutenant Sheridan B. Merrick. He was 20 years old. The co-pilot from Temple, Texas. Second Lieutenant Angus W. MacArthur, 21 years old. Co-pilot, Pasadena. Sergeant Mantu P. Jones. He was 23, the crew chief from Los Angeles. And Corporal Merle G. Ice. He was 23, the engineer from Marion, Indiana. God bless you, boys, for sacrificing your lives on behalf of our freedom.
The steepest part of the climb came in the final stretch, just above the impact site. By then, we had already been on the trail for 3.5 hours, picking our way through loose rock and rugged terrain. That last push felt almost vertical at times, the kind of climb where every step demands focus and every pause reminds you just how far you've come. With the crash site now far below us and the summit just ahead, the effort took on a sense of purpose that kept us moving upward. We finally reached the summit, and after a quick high five, we took a moment to appreciate what we had accomplished. We paused for some much-needed rest and marveled at the breathtaking views of the valley stretching out in every direction. At the flagpole, we placed our small flag in honor of the fallen airmen, a simple gesture of respect for the crew who never made it home. With that done, we gathered our gear and prepared for the long descent back to the car, now just a tiny speck on the rugged landscape. By the time we finally made it back to the truck, we were completely exhausted, every muscle reminding us of the climb. But the fatigue felt earned, and the effort absolutely worthwhile. With the day's mission accomplished and our respect paid at the summit, we pointed the truck toward home, ready for a long break and some much-needed rest. Thanks for joining me on another exciting desert adventure. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. My next stop is the Dayton Airport, where I'll be searching for 2 World War II air wrecks. Join me as we continue our search for secrets in the desert.